Good evening, this is Cab, here to drive you crazy. And welcome back to Boston Sports Talk Part 12. And we'll just jump straight into this one with the Boston Bruins, who took Game 1 against their series against the Islanders with a final score of 5-2. And with Pastrnak having himself a hat trick, it is just proving that the Boston Bruins are really showing that they have what is necessary to be in these playoffs right now. So ultimately, we'll just start off with a quick recap on it, knowing that the Islanders did put up the first point when they had scored on their power play, and then was able to have the Bruins score 30 seconds left into the period on their own power play. So knowing with that, and having a tie score even coming out from the second period, we were able to put up those 3 goals, even with one of them being an empty netter, just to secure that victory for the Bruins, and really showing that they are not a team that's going to get pushed around easily. Luckily, we do have the home court advantage for this series, simply because of the fact that the 3 and 4 team was able to take out the 1 and 2 team, which is a beautiful thing, especially now knowing that we will have this advantage. And of course, we'll see exactly how far we can get into this one. But unlike the last series where we were down on the first game and we went to win the next 4 straight, we start off strong, and hopefully we'll continue on strong for the rest of this series. We have the next game coming up tomorrow, 7:30 is the game's time, and again, we'll be in the Bruins field, so we'll go Bruins, and we'll see exactly how that game goes as well. The very next thing to talk about is going to be the Boston Celtics, who unfortunately had fallen in Game 4 today, 141-126. Now, if a team can normally put up 126 points, you would kind of think they would win. But with the Brooklyn Nets actually finishing off their halftime score at 73, really made me realize when you have the 3 people in KD, when you have James Harden, and when you have Kyrie Irving, who are all looking to have 20 points, I mean, altogether, it was like 59 points collectively just for that first half. You cannot win a game when you're allowing that much points to be scored amongst the 3 people. Simply put, Celtics do not have the same kind of players to be putting up that kind of points. Now, we were down Kemba Walker, we're down Robert Williams III, who are our starting point guard and our starting center. So we really were having to figure something out to be able to put up as much points as we did. And luckily enough, like I said, we still somehow put up 126 points. But if your defense doesn't stop them to give up 141 points, obviously you ain't going to win the game. Down 3-1 in the series right now. We're heading back to Brooklyn on Tuesday. It will also be a 7:30 game, and that game is obviously a do or die for the Celtics. You cannot lose this game and expect to have any kind of chance in the next 2, because you've already not won a single game against them during the regular season, and you had to have Jason Tatum put up 50 points in Game 3 just to make sure that you could secure a win in that game. Jason Tatum is not going to be that player to put up 50 points, just like you're not expecting KD, Kevin Durant, James Harden, or Kyrie Irving to be putting up 50 points themselves every single game, because they know they have an equal distributing between every single player to put up the amount of points necessary. So ultimately, I'm going to be looking at possibly next week, if we're not somehow forcing a Game 7, then this season is more likely going to be over. We'll jump straight into the Boston Red Sox now, which is going to be the first time I will announce off that the Red Sox are now second place in the AL East. Luckily, they still do have a pretty good record right now, but looking at it right now, we are still only half a game behind the Rays at the moment that I'm making this video, because we did have the game postponed against the Marlins, and that game will be resumed on June 7th. So for that one, we will now have the 2 series coming up, which are going to be huge series, because obviously we are going to be going up against the Houston Astros first, and then for the first time this entire season, it took us all the way until June to be able to actually face the New York Yankees. But obviously we have Houston Astros first, another team that, you know, has been having a lot of difficulties in these last couple of seasons, where obviously there's all the cheating allegations that have been, you know, thrown their way. This is going to be another meetup with Alex Cora, the former coach, and you can only imagine how intense this game is going to be with that situation, knowing that Alex Cora did have to step down the previous years, so that way he wasn't going to be in these allegation conversations, especially when it came to the Red Sox. So with him finally being back as the head coach for the Red Sox, it definitely is going to be another weird feeling in knowing that he will be going up against the Astros one more time, even though we've had series against them when we had won it back in 2017 when he was our head coach. There's a big difference now with the whole allegations that was brought up about the cheating scandals and all that. So until that point, Red Sox really do need to start fighting their way back into getting back into that first place spot, because the Rays started winning many games, and again, Red Sox kind of just became that mediocre team that just seamlessly lost their first place over a day, basically, because it was right between the time period of our off day on last week's schedule that we actually went from first to second after not having a game to play to keep ourselves up. But we're still in it, still early in the season, so go Red Sox until that next point. And lastly, of course, is going to be the New England Patriots, who once again just haven't had too many things to really talk about. We're still just going through the summer practices, the OTAs that will be eventually coming up. But obviously the one big talk that we constantly will be bringing up, because the transaction could be sometime this upcoming week, and more likely will be discussed if it does actually happen by the next video. More likely I will have it up in the corner right over here, and I'll tag it whenever I can. But it will be the talk about Julio Jones. And Julio Jones basically saying that, you know, it was reportedly done off of, you know, Shannon Sharpe's phone call to him, which was still a very big controversial thing that happened live on TV, where he decides to call up Julio Jones and speak to him without letting him know he's on live TV, that he was going to have, you know, this conversation about the Falcons wanting to trade him, and him basically saying he's already out of that building. And right now it's coming down to only 2 main teams that show the most interest for him, which happen to be the Tennessee Titans and the New England Patriots. So if the Patriots end up being able to get Julio Jones, that makes Patriots just that much more deadly on our offensive weapons now, and more likely will put us in a top 5 for Super Bowl contenders guarantee. And looking to what is the trade values of it, could be a running back and a 2nd or 3rd round pick. Maybe we'll try and see what negotiations can be done, but ultimately by June 1st is when they say that these trade lines should be finalized. But thank you once again for watching this video. Leave a like if you liked what I had to share. Drop a comment below if you want to share any thoughts, and of course the subscribe button will be right here. My name is Cab, and I'm here to drive you crazy. Aloha, God bless, and take care.